Thank you, Sheena. This year
Nobody,
felt a
nobody.
little crazy. Like I'm kind
I've
of
been
curious
ready.
about if anyone's actually hit their goals, or I think most people had to pivot, but
Well, we finally
Yeah.
closed on our SPR and are just finishing up all of the permits. So that's going to be a huge relief once our listing's live. So we're almost done. I'm actually printing out this stuff right now. I just got the email that we're approved. We need to submit 3 more pieces of paper. So I'm printing them out as we speak to get them signed and back over. So we're excited.
Congrats. Where's the STR?
that's awesome.
It's in the Poconos.
Oh, okay. Did you work with Jonathan on it?
Yep, sure did. So yeah, he's the one that sent me. You need these 3 more pieces of paper signed, and then we can go live. So I'm like trying to get them printed out and signed.
We're officially live.
Yeah.
Nice. How long do the permits
So.
take over there?
About a week, it seems like.
Yeah.
No hiccup.
I mean, there's been a lot of, there's the permits and there's getting the tax license, there's registering with the HOA. So we've been kind of working on, we didn't pass the inspection the first time because we didn't have a carbon monoxide monitor. So just little hiccups here and there. So feels like I'm
Wow.
working with Hawaii, but
Yeah, it's not. Oh man, 1 week for all that. That would be like 1 year out here.
That'll probably be longer.
Yeah.
yeah.
And they didn't come out for the reinspection. We were just able to email
Send
them
them pictures.
of the
What?
everything installed, and then they emailed the permit this morning. So now we're officially live. We've been live, but we're official. So.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow.
Well-
We should all do a retreat and go to the Poconos.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
I'll call my family
congrats.
pet too.
guys.
If you were,
Not very
if you were to, if you were to do it all over again, would you do the Poconos?
Yeah, because it is a year-round destination. So we're officially live, but we've been posted for a couple of weeks just like for future reservations. And so we're already booked. I mean, we already have several bookings already, even past Christmas. So that's what we were worried about. Like we were going to miss the holiday season, but I mean, we have bookings already starting in January. So.
And having JD there being so
Oh yeah, he's
intertwined, he's on
amazing.
it, and we're in the same community with the Weekly Juice guys, Ryan and Corey, so that's pretty cool. So yeah.
Awesome,
That's
guys.
awesome. What was the purchase price?
284, and with everything, but we got it furnished.
We bought it furnished.
With
Yeah.
furnished, and we got a 4%. What was it? We got 4%
We got a-
back to close for closing and all
Yeah.
that. So
Man,
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
284. Did you guys
I
have
know,
to
right?
renovate it? I can't remember. I can't even remember. No, right?
Say again?
Did you guys have to renovate it? I don't even
No,
remember.
it was ready to go. Whoever had bought it before us, a flipper, because that was Future Flippers is who we bought it from. They had already bought it, renovated it, furnished it. So it's kind of more turnkey, which is what we're want at this stage in our life. We're
Yeah.
not looking. We've already done all that. We're not. We got the experience. We don't want it anymore. So we bought it turnkey, ready to go. So.
Yeah, nice. Nice, guys.
That's
Congrats.
Keep us
Thanks.
updated once the numbers come in and we can learn from how you are doing on your performance.
Yeah, that's what we're excited about. See what the numbers are going to be. The projected
Yeah.
numbers are good. So, there's projected and then there's real life. So we'll see
Yeah.
if they meet our
Yeah.
expectations.
Exactly. So if your real numbers turn out great, then Corey and I will be there. We'll buy next door.
All right. Awesome.
Well,
I
happy
got
Aloha
another
Friday,
question.
everybody. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend. We'll start it out with leads, needs, good deeds. Anybody
Joe-
got anything?
Joe
You got
Hernandez.
something?
Joe was going to share something too at some point.
Oh, hey, Joe. Yeah.
Hey, how's it? Yeah, no, I was actually just gonna say, so I'm Joe Hernandez. I've been here a couple times. I have a year-end goal. We are trying to have the first of many Windward meetups starting December 15th, and it's gonna be amazing. That's the goal, and get everybody there. I know Corey knows about that because he's gonna shed some light on all of us.
Yeah, so I'll be speaking at Joe's first event, and I admire Joe a lot because he kind of he had that fork in the road where that every entrepreneur has to kind of face it eventually, where you got to choose to go all in, or kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and he went all in, so he's all in full-time real estate. He's been in real estate for a while, so I mean he's prepared, but I let him know that there's no one really doing a meetup for real estate investors on the windward side anymore after David Perret left. So I told him maybe just start a meetup, right? And so his first one's going to be on the 15th, which is next week, and we'll be out in Kailua. So Joe, I don't know if you have the information, you can drop it down in the chat, but we'd love to have people come down, hang out, talk the market.
That's awesome.
Make some deals
Congratulations.
happen.
Joe is also a commercial appraiser. So that's the career he's coming from. So he knows numbers, that's for sure. If anybody needs help running numbers or just needs second eyes, especially if it's a big asset, in the commercial space, give Joe a call.
That's awesome. Joe, you do all the islands or just mostly Oahu?
No, I've done all the islands. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. We'll hit you up.
For sure.
Tay's buying Ala Moana, so she's gonna probably want to hit you up soon.
Oh. Tay, did you have something?
Figure out how to.
Well, I was just gonna say my year-end goal is to clean up my books. It's been a task getting a lot of documents over to the new bookkeeping people that I just hired. They were supposed to be done by now and they're not, because there's a lot of deals and then 2 or 3, maybe 1 or 2 refinances for each deal, and then a lot of private lenders. So it's so fun. They're having a hard time, but yeah, I want to clean my books by the end of the year. And then we're trying to close on a 13 unit in KC, Missouri, in Kansas City, Missouri, by the end of the year. And I'm learning a lot as well, including commercial appraisal. We just paid $4,000 for a rushed commercial appraisal. So yeah, definitely learning a lot there too. But we're hoping to close by the end of the year. The seller has a 1031 exchange that he needs to meet. Yeah, but I think it was gonna be like 2,500, but there was a 4-week wait. So the guy said, if you pay me $4,000, I'll go tomorrow. So we paid, because we're trying to close on time. But the seller's gonna give us a credit, so it's okay. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I was gonna ask you, I wanted to connect with you, Joe, to ask a few things about the commercial appraisals, but I don't know if you can talk on mainland stuff. I don't know if they're the same.
So
That's it.
there are market differences, but there's a lot of principles and stuff that are kind of universal. So I have done some national studies for like Alexander and Baldwin. They've had some retail cap rate studies, high street versus just a normal shopping center area. So there are some things we can talk and we'll see what we can figure out.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
If can, if no can, no can.
Yeah. I want to know where Roderick is. Brada's about to go surfing, I think. What's up, Roderick?
Aloha! How you guys doing?
Congratulations. Roderick just closed the deal. An awesome deal.
I got a good deed for you guys. Aiden Long was phenomenal. You guys got a heavy hitter on your hands right there. What a good guy. He drug this deal across the finish line by its hair. Like, that was rough. So, but we're cool. Everybody's getting all closed out like today. And yeah, I'm down here at Sharks Cove on the North Shore. I just surfed down by gas chambers this morning, little celebratory surf, and ready to get to work.
So
That's
much good
awesome,
stuff.
Roderick. Yeah, we fully recorded today. So
Roderick, I've
Congrats
been
again,
thinking of
Roderick.
you because we had the deal that we're working on, we got a buyer and his name was Roderick and he lives in Oahu.
No way.
And he's a contractor, actually. You're not, I don't know, are you a contractor?
I was an electrical contractor for many years.
Oh,
no longer.
okay. So yeah, same kind of background, tradesman sort of thing. I was like, no, it wouldn't be. He wouldn't
it
be buying
Roderick?
an MLS deal.
No.
That's funny.
It's funny
No,
to see
yeah.
Greg not in his car. I just got to make that announcement.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
Dude,
your
I'm
baby,
stuck,
Greg?
man? Yeah. Got a kid here.
Cute.
Jamie's in Oahu getting her notary test.
Oh wow.
So I'm stuck. I do daddy duty today.
Oh, you have in-house notary now?
Yeah. Yeah, that is dad on the screen. She sees my picture on the screen. By the way, Joe, you were talking about Joe, like being a commercial appraiser, like that's a kind of a big deal. Okay, they say hi too. That's curious. If Joe, how long did it take you to get certified appraiser or general appraisal? Right.
So general appraisal takes it's a year and a half and 3,000 hours of commercial experience.
3,000
and then some
certified,
education, a lot of
right?
education.
So
What's
3
that?
hours, or 3 years to get certified appraiser, and then another year. Sorry, she keeps talking.
Yeah. So it's it takes a minimum of a year and a half, and then it's 3,000 hours of recorded commercial experience.
And do you know how many?
And then 300 hours of education.
Okay, so it's not like a long time. Yeah. It's not like a really a long time as much about as it is. She's blowing you guys kisses. About the yeah. About the just education and like number of appraisals and all that, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, generally speaking, it still takes about 2 years to actually get the 3,000 hours that you need to have. But by then you've done like just everything you can imagine, you know, from graveyards to shopping centers to airports, like literally anything and everything, hotels. It gets real creative.
Graveyards. That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is
Never
crazy.
thought about
Yeah, it's land too, you
valuing a
know?
graveyard.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's fascinating. We need to have you do a whole session just to kind of
Yeah,
walk us
seriously.
through evaluation, kind of things to keep in mind,
Yeah,
because
we can.
that's always it's always nice to see what the appraiser is going to have in their lens when we're all as investors trying to figure out if the deal is a good deal or not.
Exactly. Yep. That is huge benefit, because then and at that level you kind of have to understand like and have like a market analysis too, right? Like, is this what is the market doing like in that area? What kind of type of impact, you know? Do you guys do environmental too? You have to consider that, or no?
So yes and no. The big thing that we say is, you know, we're not certified, you know, environmental people, but it does look like there's pollution, you know. And so what we'll do with that though, that's just kind of a disclaimer, because, you know, it's just from for our legal purposes, but we will consider how that impacts, because really it's like you said, it's what's happening in the market, right? So would somebody care if they had oil that was leaked onto that land versus land that's like that didn't have oil on it? Would you spend the same amount? And that's kind of the way that we look at it. And we'll look at actual transactions, and a lot of our job is kind of like detective work. So you get really good at finding out what's happening in the market, what people are actually doing, because there's what people say they'll do, and then there's what people actually do, right? And that's where economics comes in. And so I appraisers, they're not economists, but they are very good at economics. That's the key.
Yeah, I like that. You know, especially like the commercial appraisers, they have to consider like so many more different angles, right?
Yeah.
So, why, Greg, are you thinking about getting your commercial appraiser license? Or are you just curious?
No. I mean, I think, I don't know if you guys know, I was an appraiser from 02 to like 07-ish.
Oh, cool.
And I was just coming up and gonna be starting to work on applying for my certified appraiser's license. And that's when the recession hit. And I was in Miami, and it was like ground zero, right? I mean, it was just a shit show. And like, it was crazy. I just one day, you know, my certified appraiser, I was really lucky that like a really close family friend of mine was his dad was a mortgage broker, like owned a huge brokerage. And so like he just naturally like was able to go get his appraisal license and just have business right off the bat. And so because he was hooked up and he was a family friend, I got hooked up. And it was really cool because my dad's first job out of high school, college was also as a real estate appraiser. And so I was kind of following his footsteps. But yeah, so I got to do appraisal for him, but there was just one day in 07, like I think it was like end of 06, where all of a sudden there was just no more appraisals. And one day he's just like, sorry, we don't have any appraisals today. And then the next day he's like, we don't have any appraisals today either. And then like after a month of that, I was like, I guess I got to get another job.
Wow.
I thought I was set for life. I wish I had held through though, because now my license is inactive and it would have to go through the whole new licensing, you know, to like start over. But like, I really wish that I had at least kept my license active or something, because especially for the last couple of years, it would have been a good ace in a pocket sort of thing to pull out. Of course it's different in Hawaii, but anyways, I was curious, Joe, if you know how many other general appraisers are there in the state of Hawaii, or do you know how many are on Maui?
Yeah, so, okay, on the outer islands, I'm not too sure. I've only ever come across like maybe one or two that are actually doing any work.
Yeah.
But most of them are here in Oahu, at least based here, but they'll still do all the outer islands. There's maybe like, honestly, there's only like a handful of actual top of the top guys that are doing real appraisal work. Because so even though it takes 1.5 years and the 300 hours, generally you want to get an MAI, which is, it's a designation from the Appraisal Institute. And to get that, it's another 1.5 years. And you have to write a thesis paper, and you have to, it's like getting a master's degree basically. And there's only maybe 10 guys on the island that have that. And so
now they require a 4-year degree to be an appraiser, right?
Yeah, that's right. So to get a CGA, to get to certified general, where you can do anything, yeah, you do need
oh, so you can be a certified appraiser and just do residential without a 4-year degree?
Yeah.
Oh, right on. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've always theorized there's a guy, I don't know if everybody else knows him as much as I do, but there's an appraiser on Maui named Alan Shishido, Island Appraisal. And I'm like almost positive, I'm like 95% sure he's a general appraiser. And I've had him like, I don't know, 5 times or something. And every time, like from the very first time I had him and I saw the value, I was just like, oh my God, dude, are you kidding me? Come on, man. Just because I'm buying it for 100,000, that doesn't mean it's what it's worth. Like it was like,
Yeah,
you know, because everything I buy is pretty severely discounted. And every single time he's like giving me like whatever the value is, like on the purchase, or I mean, the low tax assessed values on a brand new house. It was like, you know, just like crazy low value. It's like, come on, man. Like you got to be almost like embarrassed to put that low of a value. But like, my opinion's always been like, he's been around so long and he's been seeing all these guys get their licenses yanked over doing inflated values, especially in 06, you know, and he's probably just like old school Japanese conservative guy that's just like, why am I going to risk my license when I don't need to do that to get business anymore anyways, right? So that was my theory.
So to be honest, because I've thought about that a lot too, as long as there's no drastic change in value, nobody really like will question your work. But if there's a drastic change, you have to really support it, because people will ask questions and then they'll start digging, and then your like license and entire life is kind of like on the line there. You have to defend it with all your might, I guess. So a lot of guys, sometimes it's easier to just be like, you know, let's just be very, very, very conservative. I mean, the market does look like it's making this, but do I really want to support that? Especially when this guy is only paying this, you know, like I could justify that being, you know, why would anybody pay more than what this guy's buying it for if that's what this guy's buying it for? So that's kind of how they'll you know, fall back on a slow increase in value is it's typically how the market works. But to, you know, like with what happened with COVID and even just coming out of COVID, there was a huge fluctuation. There was some highs, there were some lows, there's some, you know, weird stuff. So it kind of it was kind of an interesting time, because you did have to report these big changes, because like, you know, nobody's going to believe that there isn't any kind of significant change. And so you had to everybody kind of had to really gather a lot of evidence on everything that they do, because at the end of the day, an appraisal is it's an opinion of value,
right?
And it's not one of those things where you can say you know, 1 + 2 = 3. You know, all you can do is say, hey, look, when that guy adds 1 + 2, he comes up with 3. When that guy does 1 + 2, he comes up with 3. So I would think that 1 + 2 must equal 3, but that's my opinion. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's that's what appraisal really is at the end of the day. It's there's some science in it, but it's also a bit of an art. And so and to be honest, it's funny because commercial appraisal out here, Tay actually got a pretty good deal at 4,000, because a lot of reports that
the chat,
like
that's funny.
I've never seen less than 5,000, like just for a standard restricted appraisal. I've seen them go as high as 25,000 to like 100 grand if it's a portfolio.
That's
what I was gonna
amazing.
say. My uncle's getting a gas station right now, and I think the appraisal is like 20-something thousand or something.
Yeah.
Like, commercial's a
So is
whole different ballgame. I mean,
well, especially in Hawaii, because appraisers are exceptional out here, because in the mainland, oftentimes when a commercial appraisal, like there's so much
to
there's
choose
so
from.
much.
Yeah. There's a lot of data.
Usually you'll specialize. Yeah. And so you'll go, okay, you know what? I only do industrial warehouses. And there's enough industrial warehouses that you'll never run out of it. So you can almost like rinse and repeat, because all the work you did on your last warehouse report, you can use again on a new warehouse, on a different warehouse. You can kind of, you know, and so they just kind of crank a bunch of them out. And so they can charge a cheaper fee. But out here, appraisers have to be more generalists. Like I said, I mean, literally cemetery, agricultural land, hotels, like everything. Yeah, you know, you have to be able to do. And so each time you do it, it's like a new deep dive, especially if it's a, you know, really complicated question. Like somebody asked the other day, like at one of the meetups I went to, you know, how do you value a land that's in the middle of nowhere for glamping, right? And actually, funny enough, I actually had a client that asked me that wanted to know what their yurt was worth on Big Island in the middle of nowhere. So, you know, I actually happen to know. But you know, it's not easy. You have to, again, you have to gather a bunch of evidence, and each time you do it, it's a research report, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's a very important gig, though. I mean, yeah, we need. I know we've all had our fair share of battles with appraisers and stuff, but like, that's a yeah. I mean, I was thinking during the boom with all the, you know, when appraisers were starting to get a little greedy, I feel, you know, especially residential, more on the residential side, actually. Then I started thinking, man, they better be careful, because like they're gonna change stuff up, you know, the banks and all that, and just find, and they started to too. They were going to like desktop underwriting and desktop appraisals and all that. But either way, valuations is like you said, it's an art. It truly is.
Yeah.
So that was funny. I saw it put in the comments, like, because $4,000 is expensive for residential, but for commercial, it's like, yeah, it's
a good deal.
Well,
especially if it's rust.
Yeah, it's only like but it's a 13 unit, right? So it's not like it's a cemetery or anything. That's funny. I think like valuations are going to be super important to keep eyes on, and kind of always, you know, hone your skills, right? And you're the first guy that's kind of said that out loud, but I always felt like Hawaii is such a unique market because the houses are so unique. Some of them are very old, some of them are plantation style, some of them are modern. Some of them are hillside, you know, like it's so unique. Some of them single walled still, you know, like, so how do you, like, it's harder to pull valuations because a 2.5, 1,200 square feet, you know, compared to another 2.5, 1,200 square feet, you know, exact same specs, but it's a totally different, you might not even be able to use that as a comp, you know, even if it's right next door, because the houses are so different. But on the mainland, you have a lot of data, right? So there's more volume. And then two, it's like developers came in and just built tract houses and big developments where they all kind of look the same, right? They're even like same colors, everything. So, but I think the valuation side is going to be important. And that's what kind of, Keiko and I had a very interesting discussion. Maybe we can kind of start here. I wanted to dive a little bit deeper, but we're looking at markets to go and buy, right? Vegas is one of them. I'll be up there next week, and there's kind of two ways that we can go about it. We can go and look for value adds right now and purchase them with a bridge loan, fix them up, and do a refi on the back end, right? That's probably most ideal. That's probably where we'll squeeze the most juice out of the fruit. But my thing, like what we're deciding now is, do we have the time? You know, because the market has gone down in Vegas, and, you know, there's kind of indicators showing that we're still going to be going down for a little while. But just the feeling is, for me, is how far can a market retract before it has to start correct, you know, before it has to. And I don't think Vegas is done yet. You know, I don't think any market across the nation is done going, you know, kind of seeing a squeeze. So the other option would be to look for turnkey properties that, since we don't really maybe have the time and maybe the energy to get in a bunch of them and buy a bunch, do we just go for turnkey and buy below market because we know the market's going to return at some point? And these are going to be long-term holds anyways. So That's kind of what we're deciding now, and I can see it both sides, right?
Yeah. So what I would say, and again, all of this is just an opinion. This is not an official appraisal opinion either. It's just kind of how the market works, is how I'll say that. There is what I saw in residential, because we use that sometimes as an indicator, at least how the market's doing. We will look at in general, how residential is out here, because there's not a lot of commercial, like you were saying. So there's kind of like, it's kind of like the stock market, if you look at it from a 10-year perspective, there's like it looks linear, as far as like how much the prices have kind of have raised up. And then if you kind of zoom in and, at a couple months, or maybe even just a year or two, you might see like big kind of, ups and downs, and it might look like it's just crazy or not doing anything. Real estate's the exact same way. So generally speaking, I mean, at least here, values kind of typically appreciate at about like 3% in the long run. What I noticed is there's still that linear growth, right? And then when COVID happened, it went way up. And then when the interest rates started rising, it started to like come down. Yeah. What I would say is, if you were to pretend that didn't happen, the market correction would kind of be wherever that linear point would have been if there wasn't all that looping, by now. That's where it's going to likely end up at. So I don't think that values are going to necessarily
stick.
Yeah,
Like the
well,
equity that was gained during that time, you feel is not going to stick.
There's going to be some there's going to be some fluctuation, but right now I actually did a study with the MLS stats. I was kind of looking at it, and the rate of appreciation is decreasing. And to me, that's kind of a market correction. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that don't necessarily look at what it is now, look at what it was, and then look before all this craziness happened, and then project it from there up to where it should be by, some certain point. And the reason I say that is because the biggest thing about the market is you can't predict the future, right? You have no, even though appraisers, we attempt to say, hey, based on all this evidence, this is where it's going to be, this is what the value is going to be at this point. It's really hard because anything could happen that would change everything. It's like, if everything were to stay exactly the same right now, that's how it would be. But in reality, we have no idea what the future is going to hold. But generally speaking, it'll always come back up. So if there is any lows, if you're doing a long-term hold, it'll come back up. It'll cycle. When that'll happen, I don't know, but it looks like, to me, it looks like it's just slowing down to where it should be now.
Okay, Cole, what's your thoughts on
if that makes any sense?
Vegas?
Well, my thoughts just kind of nationally and overall is, you're looking at those actual stats, and it's clear some markets have already hit a 3% drop in valuation. So for appraisers, I think that's really challenging. I can't imagine, trying to now predict values in a down market and trying to figure out how to pinpoint those. But my gut is that the federal funds rate is going to continue to go up for probably another couple of meetings. And so inflation, I think, is in the high 7s right now, and they continue to push that they're trying to get down to 2%. So we got a long ways to go, but it's crazy because some markets, there's a huge delta between the realistic price that a seller is willing to take and the price that buyers are willing to pay. And so that delta is becoming that contentious point that is kind of stale. It's almost like a stalemate in the market right now. So there's a lot of stuff sitting.
I almost feel it. Do you? I almost feel the staleness. Like when you're embedded in a market, you can almost feel the market, and like I feel that.
Yeah.
So what did you say is the cause of that? Because like demand is low, right? But so is supply. Like we're 3.8 million housing units short across the nation. So supply is still low. So that's the staleness, I guess. And then there's
Well,
the delta between the buyer's expectations and the seller's expectations, right?
Yeah.
That's the stale. Yeah, nobody's willing to move. So sellers aren't willing to drop too far. So they're willing to drop a little bit, but unfortunately, it's not enough to get buyers to say, let's close.
Yeah.
But it makes perfect sense, you know, because like we're listing a bunch of properties right now, and a lot of it's sitting, and we're doing price reductions, and the offers we're getting are just ridiculously low. It's the same, Corey,
So-
when you and I start buying in Vegas, we're going to make insulting offers, but in this season, it's acceptable, you know? And Joe's nodding his head because Joe's seeing some of these offers come through that are getting accepted. And usually those are only getting accepted now because the sellers were absolutely desperate. And so they ended up just taking that low number. But by and large, I think most sellers right now are just like, you know what, if we get the number, great. If not, we're going to wait. And then buyers are like, what, you know what, if I don't get the number I want, then I'm going to wait because I'm going to get a better deal. And so as a result, the transactions are really low because neither is going to move. And so we're in a very interesting market. But what's going to happen, as I think Joe was alluding to, is at some point there's going to be a turning point. And we don't know what that turning point is, but my guess is that it's going to be when the inflation rate drops a little bit more, maybe down to 5%. Because when it gets down there, then maybe Powell's going to say, you know what, good enough. We worked hard, lots of layoffs. Crime rate is through the roof right now throughout the country because people are losing jobs. Like, I mean, just today's news, Walmart's are going to shut down Walmart stores because of the fact of how much they're getting stolen. My 8-unit complex, Corey, I didn't even tell you this. I had a murder there last night.
Whoa.
So, I mean, people are exchanging drugs, and when they're not happy, they just take each other out. It's the craziest thing.
Crazy.
So I think what's going to happen is that the pressure from society is going to cause Powell and the Federal Reserve to say, you know what, when we get to close to 5-ish, when we half the 8, you know, to maybe 4 to 5, they're going to probably start changing some things. Interest rates will change. And as soon as that starts to pivot, I think that's when all of the investors are going to be like, holy crap, we better start buying now because now everything's changing. So now buyers are going to get more active. Sellers are going to be like, oh, well, this is good. So, you know, let's get on market. So now the supply is going to come back up. And so then as a result, the market that's stale is, I think, going to turn alive again. Whether that happens in I would say no earlier than summer or fall of 23, by the way it looks like now. It's taken them 5 months to move the inflation from mid-8s to the high 7s. And so they've got a long ways to go. So it'll be interesting, but
I think it's going to turn quick though. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to bring that number down, but the moment that it breaks and it clicks, you know, because a lot of our markets and inflation is self-fulfilling prophecy. It's all based on faith, a lot of faith and trust. So like right now, like we're coming off a high of 2021, massive inflation, a lot of equity, you know, fake equity being built. People, you know, are well off. And then now the interest rates are happening. So that was a quick up, but coming down, I think it's like, it's hard to bring that number down, but when it does click and it breaks and everyone just admits and faces the truth that we need to go through a recession here, I think that number is going to start to come down quick. Like that's just my guess. Like I have no indicators. It's just my thinking, like, okay, thinking about what's happening and how, you know, I know majority of our markets is based off of, you know, just trust and faith and opinions, to be honest. So once the numbers start to come down, like, you know, there will be a point I feel that it will break and people will come, you know, start trusting the market coming back. Because there's a lot of money that's sitting on the sidelines because they think that Powell is not moving fast enough. Like he's not being as, you know, we should be more aggressive. They're thinking that's a big chunk of the capital markets that are sitting on the side because they feel that way. So
actually,
have a quick
feeding off
and
of
painful.
feeding off of what both of you guys said, because I totally agree. So there's a lot of what in there, and I would say like why. So here's what happened when all the interest rates were super low, because typically the supply and demand curve are fixed, right? I mean, theoretically. And so there is, for every, for what people are charging, there will only be a certain amount of supply, and vice versa, right? So that doesn't, as long as everything stays as it is, it doesn't shift. And so there's like a balancing point, and in all in all things in life, there's a homeostasis, they call it, right? So our body temperature, it's never 100 degrees. If it was always 100 degrees or above, that wouldn't be good. If it was 50 degrees, 60 degrees, that'd be really bad. We always stay at 98.6, right? And when it starts to shift, our body tries to correct it. Everything in life kind of has that sort of balance, and that includes, like, with this economics. So when the interest rates were super low, money was basically free. So everybody could borrow money and not really have to pay anything. So you increase the number of buyers in the market. And when you increase the number of buyers in the market, the entire supply and demand curve, whatever it was, is irrelevant now, because it's a completely new graph, because there's the entire market around it has completely changed. So in this new graph, people are going to pay a lot more, for that price point. It's a lot higher now, because everybody, there's not as much supply as there are buyers, and because buyers, it's so competitive, you're like, dang, I really want that house, and you're all right, I'll pay 100 grand. Like that's what it normally costs, 100 grand in a normal market with a normal amount of buyers. Because there's typically a normal market. I would say there is a normal market, and that to me is, when whatever that interest rate kind of balance is supposed to be at, like there's a fixed point where there should be a certain number of people who are buying, and a certain supply. Like this kind of shift in the entire graph is a little bit an enigma, right? And so with this enigma, I say, hey, look, I have 100 grand, I can afford it, I'll buy it. Somebody else comes in and they say, well, hey, I can also afford 100 grand. I could actually do 105, 110. And then, some other guy's like, hey, you know what? Actually, I'll do 150. Okay, I'll do 200. And so when you get all these offers, the bargaining power is completely in the seller side, right? And that's why they say it was a seller's market at that time. So what the price should have been in a normal market, it now suddenly was way higher, because people were bidding it up artificially, like you were saying, right? Because then when so instead of the interest rate rising to a normal degree, so there's a normal amount of buyers out there, so it would kind of go back to where it's supposed to be. The market, the reason why things are done quarterly is because it takes a few months before you start to notice any kind of difference when you make some kind of economic change, like interest rates, right? Yeah. So they raise the interest rates, it's like they expect it to happen in a day, but then it's like the next day, oh no, it's not changing, we need to raise it again, we need to raise it again. No, we need to just raise it and wait, and see what happens, and then reevaluate. But instead, they just keep raising. And so now the number of buyers in the market are less than what it would usually be. And so because of that, there's not all that competition anymore. So what they were bidding it up at has gone down. I would say that the true value of the property should still be what it was. Like I said, it wouldn't be what it was back before COVID, because it does appreciate. So it would have gone up, but at the normal appreciation rate. And it should be, if it was 100,000 last year, and I know these are low numbers, I'm just, for the sake of the discussion, if it increases at, let's say, $3,000, is what it should have done, but instead people paid 200,000. Now with the normal amount of buyers, it should have been 103,000, or looking at it kind of like that. So you still can get that 103,000 even in this market where there's less buyers. The difference is, kind of the laws of the universe here. If you wait long enough, if people truly value it to that point, there will be somebody who will come along eventually that will pay the 103,000 if you're willing to wait. So a lot of people, if you really want to just sell it, or because, so this is what I think is happening. This is what I see. So people say, hey, my neighbor sold his house for 200,000 last year. Well, shoot, I can sell my house for 200,000. You list it, 200,000. Nobody cares to buy it at 200,000. Nobody can buy it at that. Nobody's willing to bid it up anymore, right? So now they're waiting. Okay, fine, I'll do 150,000. And then they wait, and still nobody's trying to buy it because it's still only, you know, $103,000 property. So they go, okay, well, I'm not going less than 140. And somebody comes in and say, hey, I'll give you 90. And they're like, what? That's ridiculous. My neighbor just sold for 200,000, right? And it's like, yeah, but that was then. This is now. Your property is not a $200,000 property. And so one of two things will happen. Either they'll say, you know what, I'm just going to wait because this is ridiculous right now. This is just not a good time to sell. Or they'll be super desperate because they do really want to sell, or they do really need to sell. And they're like, you know what, I guess 90,000 is the best I'm going to get. And they don't want to wait. If they waited it out, they could at least get, you know, their 103,000. But to get it at a discount, they just have to be one of those people who has kind of lost faith in the market. And they're like, you know what, if everybody's offering me 90,000, that's probably the best I'm going to get. And they'll do it. Or, you know, or just kind of like the standard always happening thing where, you know, you might have somebody really old that just doesn't care about their property. They live in the mainland or something, you know, and it's this property's out here. They just want to get rid of it. They don't necessarily need a whole lot, so they're willing to sell it at a severe discount. Like there will always be something like that.
Well, the market, like you said, it's like we're playing on a new graph. Like I like how you said that, because I don't think we can say that it's gonna correct, you know, to where it was, you know, and its normal trend, because when you have something like COVID, like a black swan event, right? Like it shakes the tree, you know, and then people end up on new branches and stuff. Like if you look at maybe the Silicon Valley area, the Bay Area, like COVID, what did that do to that market, right? So there's a lot of crime there. It kind of really put a spotlight on California as a state in general, to be honest. And a lot of people who are starting to realize that California is probably maybe not the best place for me to be, and they move into Texas, or they move across the nation, you know, or even from New York to Miami or Florida. So you have to stay, like Melina said, she like in times like these, you got to stay local, like laser focused, like what's happening in our local area that we're going to invest. Yeah. That's why Keiko and I, we're looking at Vegas, we're looking at the greater Seattle area, obviously Hawaii, but right now the focus I think is Vegas, because they're taking kind of I think they were leading indicator for a lot of markets out across the US. So, okay, cool. Winner, are you in Vegas already?
No, I'll get there next week.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna be okay? So I have meetings lined up, but I think the first day we hang out, kind of strategize. It's kind of stressful right now.
Open invitation, come to Vegas. We'll go shopping.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of travel, I'm gonna be over in Oahu next week. On Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Nice.
I don't know if anybody's
Thursday,
around.
Friday, Saturday.
Greg, are you attending the multifamily mindset?
Yeah. Are you going?
I'll be there. Yeah.
Right on. Anybody else going?
I don't know if anyone from our team is going. I think we might have a couple people going. I'm not sure.
That sounds like a great event. Greg, will you? Can I call you and you can download notes for me?
Yeah. I don't know if you want my notes, man. I'm gonna be out surfing most of the time.
Well, at least you're honest.
Yeah.
No, actually, no. It kind of looks like it might be like a Kona storm on Friday. It looks like we're gonna have strong south winds, like Kona kind winds the whole time I'm there, which sucks, man. I'm like going over Oahu, staying Waikiki right there at Queens, or whatever that break's called. Never fails, man. Every time I'm
hit up Roger, go surf.
Yeah, Roger, come rescue me from the seminar. Get me out to the North Shore, maybe.
Who's putting that event on?
Huh? Oh,
Who put-
it's, I don't, you know that guy Tyler? He lives in Maui. He moved here like not, I don't know, in the last few years. And he is multifamily. Tyler Devereaux, I think. And
Yeah, he's
his
from
business
Maui.
is the multifamily mindset.
Okay. Never heard of him
Um,
before. That's great. So it's not Vince Getting, guys. Tri-City.
No, it's a lot of guys on Maui seem to know him. My partner, David, knows him. And like every time I mention him to another investor here, like who was it? Like Josh, I think, or Brandon or somebody was like, oh yeah, the Tyler guy, whatever. Like everybody seems to know him but me. I know of
Okay.
him, but I think he's only
Yeah,
been
yeah.
here for like 3 or 4 years.
If you're
I'm sure
serious
it's
about-
like, fortune builder kind, it's teaching like commercial syndication. And at the end of the 3 days, like, we're just hoping there'll be a valuable 3-day course, like how the fortune builders one is a good course. Like it's definitely worth it. I wish they would still do it. I would go again, but so I'm expecting it's going to be like that, like hopefully we'll get some value out of it. And like, cause we're both kind of interested in pivoting pretty soon, like we're over there scraping duct tape off of the window on our flip. And we're just like, what the fuck are we doing? Yeah, I'm sure at the end they'll try to sell us the $50,000 class, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Well, let
Well,
us know.
thanks
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's awesome.
Maybe we
thanks
ask
for
Dante take notes.
Yeah, I'm bringing some people who's good at bringing notes with me.
There you go, Dante.
That's an
We're
entrepreneur.
going Dante's notes.
Oh, Greg, no need go. Dante's gonna take notes for us.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
exactly.
I'll just,
You can go
Dante.
surf with Roderick.
Yeah.
We're gonna sneak in like an audio recorder and just record audio.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's
Well.
awesome. Right on. Good stuff.
By the way, last week, we were talking about was it Corey? Yeah, Corey, you were telling me. Oh, right. I was trying to go surf the North Shore. My phone cut
See you,
out.
Tay.
But
Oh, that's right.
yeah, so we had just listed, I think on Wednesday, and we had like 5 showings or something. Well, we've got 2 full price offers and we accepted 1.
Wow.
Wow. Okay,
So-
nice.
I was really, really happy. Yeah. Like, cause I was, all I keep hearing is like about like how Joe was saying, and so many markets, like it's just not happening and stuff's not moving and prices are, buyers aren't paying the same. So, and we are selling for like 50 grand higher than the highest comp in the subdivision in the last 2 years. So,
Did they take the offer? I mean, they offered at asking.
No, so the one we accepted, we listed for 975. Here, I'll put the link to the listing in the chat. We listed at 975 and they offered 950. And sorry, I'm just getting it here. They offered 950. And right off the bat, we just came right back and said, we want 975. And so we said, we did a little bit there. The Redfin list, link to the listing is in the chat now if anybody wants to look at it. But basically we, they offered 950. We came back, we said, well, we want 975. But we'll do, because we know we didn't fix the solar water heater. We were like, let's just, let's do 970 because, if they want to fix that, they can. We replaced the water heater, but we just didn't change the solar panel. Cause it's like $1,000 to change the water heater, but it's like $9,000 to change the panel and all that or whatever. So we just said 970, but we're, including all repair credits and everything, like don't ask for a repair or anything else, basically. So, yeah, they accepted it right away. And then like right after we signed, we got another full price offer. But it wasn't as, it was still, it was a good offer, but like, it wasn't, they had a smaller down payment and we weren't like, I don't know, quite as sure about their financing. Whereas this guy talked to the lender, they already ran credit and income and everything. So we were like, okay, we don't have to worry about this guy's DTI or anything, at least.
Yeah.
Now the issue we
Right.
have though is the reason why our house is so much more and at such a premium is because it's also bigger. It's the biggest one out of any of the comps by a lot in the subdivision. And so we're really comparing to the subdivision next door, Waihu Heights, which is all bigger, you know, 2,000 to 3,000 square foot houses on 8,000 to 10,000 square foot lots. So it's a much more desirable, nicer subdivision. Whereas ours was originally built as workforce. So they're like 4,000 square foot lots and 1,000 square foot houses. And actually Joel Blanco did a flip just like a few doors down from us. And he's one of our best comps in our
Nice.
subdivision, and his sold for 870. So he's 100,000 less. And his is bigger too. His is like 1,500 square foot. It's bigger than most of the houses. So the issue we're at right now is that the buyer, the reason they fell in love with our house is because it's the same 1,100 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath, but it has a 1,000 square foot addition. So it's twice as big as almost, you know, all of the original houses. And it is that addition is a great room. It's like 800 square foot open area. We were talking about last week, like we were kind of on the fence of whether we should convert that to an attached ohana or whatever. What we didn't think about, and me being a condo guy, and like I serve on the condo council of Maui and everything, so I should know this homeowners association stuff, but I didn't think about this. The HOA doesn't allow any additional units. It's their rules basically say no property should be occupied by more than one family. So you have, you know, like nobody, basically you can't rent out a room. You can't like have a cottage or like anything like that. Like the only people that can live, if you're renting out your house, you have to be renting it all to one family, or if it's owner occupied, it's only family members that can be living there, sort of thing. So like you can't have people from 2 different families essentially. And they also go on to explain like the goal of this is to keep this a family, you know, residential kind of neighborhood without the, you know, transient nature of a lot of Maui, where there's like cars coming and going, traffic, and like, you know, just a bunch of tenants and craziness. So now this just came up yesterday where we got the condo docs and we're looking at it, we're like, oh man, this could be a little bit of a problem for our buyer, because their goal, their reason for buying this house is that the wife has already gotten the licensing or permitting or whatever to be able to do assisted living for 3 patients. So she's going to have 3 elderly people that she live in and take care of. And so now we're going to try and, you know, see, we're like, you know what, do we kind of like let the buyer figure this out in their due diligence, or do we just like tell them right now, hey, look at what we found? We decided to just bring it up and like be proactive and not take a chance on, because they have 15 days to review condo docs. We're like, the last thing we want to do is drag this out for 2 or 3 weeks and then they cancel on the last day. And now rates are back in the high 7s, maybe, I don't know. So yeah, we brought it up. The agent is actually from Oahu. EXP is a guy named Patrick from EXP in Honolulu. And you know him? No.
I don't know him. What's his last name? Is it over the F?
You might be thinking of Patrick Franta on Maui. That's our
yeah,
he's a good
that's who
friend of
I'm
mine.
thinking of.
Yeah, his
Is he
name
with HP
is
though?
Patrick. Shoot, where is he? Okay. Patrick Longley.
I'll ask Ashley. Well, what do you need? What do you need from me on it?
Well, I was just curious, like, if you know, he seems like he seems good so far. He's on it, and he said that he's done this before. He's worked with clients in the past that were doing assisted living, and that and they've done it in HOAs and they've done it in stricter HOAs than this one, and they've gotten approval and it's been okay. So we're optimistic, cautiously optimistic, I would say. But I don't know. I'm really hoping this doesn't blow the deal, because we've got a qualified buyer. They're gonna close pretty quickly. You know, like it seems like a good deal. You know, again, like everybody here knows, I'm conservative, man. I don't want to take a chance. Like, even though, you know what, if they cancel, we'd probably go back on and sell for more money, because we accepted this offer after 2 or 3 days on market. You know, like we're not trying to chance it. Like we just want to get out, move on, and get our profits. It's gonna be a home run. We're gonna make 200 grand on a 3-month flip, so that's great. But like, I'm happy. I don't want to push it. Like I just want to close the sale.
Yeah, I think that now's definitely not the time to be greedy, you know, or
yeah,
like
especially because we're making
over
200.
the
It's like,
aggressive.
okay, we're making what we were making on flips like last year. So
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Like, close the deal. Let's do what we got to do to close it. But like, if they can't do the assisted living, they've already told us, if the AOAO says no, it's a deal breaker, and no question.
yeah.
So
Nah, you'll be
the
fine.
agent,
That was a
Patrick seems smart. Like he seems like he's on it, and he's gonna talk to them and, you know, kind of figure out, like, do the due diligence on it. So I'm thinking, like, if they come to the association, probably the board president or the property manager, whoever it is, they talk to and they say, look, here's the deal. We're not going to be renting rooms. We are going to be providing care for elderly. And in order for us to provide the care, we're going to let them stay, you know, live with us. And the other mindset is like, well, who's to say, like, family, you know, the bylaws or house rules say family. Well, I mean, especially in Hawaii of all places, it's like, well, auntie here is Ohana. She's Hanai family or whatever, right? Like there's so many different interpretations of
Greg.
what that means. Yeah.
So I mean, I can't speak against the HOA or anything, but the house that we did sell, she did have a licensed daycare there. And I know that
That's
there are
right,
several
yes.
other licensed daycares in that neighborhood too.
That's a good point. Thank you for reminding me that. I actually, you know, I met the tenant when you guys bought it that was there before. And yeah, that's a really good point. Although the daycare, you know, like it still helps our argument. I mean, but like they probably weren't having overnight kids. Well, maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But still, it's still good. And I mean, that at least shows that they were allowing, or at least they weren't penalizing
some sort of commercial activity.
Yeah. I mean, even the HOA docs, they say no street parking, but there's so many houses there that have street parking. When they first started that neighborhood, it was affordable housing. So they did have a lot of those restrictions when they created the HOA, but destinations is just, they don't enforce a lot of it.
Well, destination, I think, is the one that would enforce the fines once they're issued, but actually my assumption would be that it, like, because other HOAs I've worked with, is there's a board member that's designated. And if you look at the condo docs, when on the board roster, there's a guy that is designated as covenants enforcer. And so, and I haven't really seen that. I don't think I've noticed that on other HOAs before. So on one hand, like, it's bad that they have somebody that's designated to go around and check
right, and he's not there.
yeah. But like, on the other hand, it's good. The good thing about it is that there's only like 3 or 4 board members, and there's like 4 open seats. So that's a good thing, because that shows they're short staffed basically. And also the covenants enforcer lives on the exact opposite side of the subdivision. Like he lives right next to the highway on the top. So he would really have to be going out of his way looking for violations. And, you know,
Greg does his research, man. You could tell he was an appraiser. Hat off to you, bro. Man, we gotta hire you
his
for some
address. I know
consulting.
his, like, yeah, I know his life story and everything. But like, it doesn't, none of that really matters. Like, I think, you know, because we know this, I kind of know, okay, they would get away with it, no problem. If you guys saw what this house looked like before we bought it, this HOA is not enforcing stuff, right? Like, we know that. But at the same time, the buyer's not going to buy the house if they don't have commitment, like written commitment. yes, you can do this out of your
Yeah.
house. So hopefully we can get them to agree to it. We'll see.
Well, keep us updated, Greg. That's interesting to understand, working with some of the, and it's going to be interesting to see what the buyers decide, because if they're saying that they don't want to, you know, they have to have it for sure, otherwise they're not going to buy it, then it's going to be hard for someone to put in writing, you know, that, and stick their neck out that they can do that. So keep us updated. Let us know. Hope, and we'll, you know, hope for the best for you. But at least
Yeah,
you got
hopefully,
offers coming
by
in
next
and
week.
interest. Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Friday.
Hopefully
Right on,
we'll know by
guys.
next week.
Well, I gotta get going, so I hope you guys all have a great weekend. Happy Aloha Friday, and we'll see you guys next week. Hello, everybody.
Thank you.
See you guys. Don't forget Joe's meetup, Windward Side. He
Yeah,
put
links in there.
the link in the chat. I'll leave it for a couple more seconds. See you guys.